that are not shy to our stream, that is for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Destined Rivals is new to the format, and that gives a big opportunity for innovative deck builders to take advantage of the first big event before the metagame is kind of settled. And Stefan is a player who's done this time and time again. Come to these big events with some innovations, some twists on some decks, and is really taken advantage of the uncertainty of these events. And I think he may have done it once again. You see Dragapult with Zoroark EX.
I love it.
It's a treat to see this. We're going to see how it plays out. Going up against Jack, who's been playing for a really long time as well, going with the Raging Bolt. And traditionally, I think this is kind of a close matchup. There is one new card from Destined Rivals that makes a big difference that we'll get into as this goes on. But yeah, this should be an exciting one to kick off round 2. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, I am super hyped for this, of course. Like you said, Stefan innovating here on our stage. It is because he's playing to win here, but so is Jack sitting across for him, playing since 2009, self-proclaimed Poke Boomer. Let's take a look at these prize cards and see if that's going to affect our players in this game.
Yeah, you see the Raging Bolt, the non-EX in the prize cards for Jack, and this is one of the big differences now in this format. Raging Bolt was one of your main attackers in the early game against decks like Dragapult, but now there's the Shaman that can protect your Dreepy and your Dracloak on the bench from the Raging Bolt. So it is prized, that's going to hurt, but Stefan does have the Shaman, so we'll see if that would have ended up mattering.
Right, exactly. And of course, this is best of 3 between our players too, so we're going to see how their strategies pan out in this specific matchup, but I think it's going to be an awesome one to see. Every time we get to see our pro players play and the lines that they go through, I feel like it's just a totally different experience because they take us through quite the journey, and we're kicking that journey off right now. Speak of the little grass guy here. Shaman starting off in the active position here for Stefan on the left side as we have Jack kicking things off with a nest ball. All right, let's talk about this matchup on paper. Kyle, how do you think this is going to go for Jack once he kind of is able to see what he's playing against in Stefan? And do you think he maybe has sort of an idea now seeing a Shaman and knowing that this is Stefan too?
I think Stefan is known for playing Gardevoir a lot, so you might think, well, when you see a Shaman, you think it's got to be some kind of like slower setup kind of deck, right? You're not going up against a Raging Bolt deck if there's a Shaman. Yeah. Shaman's Flower Curtain is a twist on some of these bench barrier effects that we've seen in the past. It does not protect your Pokemon that have a rule box. So your Pokemon EX are not protected by this, but your smaller Pokemon do get the protection from the Flower Curtain. But excellent start from Jack. Gets the Fan, Rotom. No energy, though. That's a little rough.
Yeah, usually you see energy starting to fly here. In any deck that has that Teal Mask Ogerpon, you're able to Teal Dance, get another energy out. You need those energies on the board to discard for damage or to even just attack with the Teal Mask Ogerpon, who needs 3 energy attached and able to do this Myriad Leaf Shower. But hey, at least we got the Fan Call, Nest Ball, into Fan Rotom, into Fan Call, gets us a bunch of Hoot and potential Knockdowel out there for Jack. So he's got somewhat of a semblance of a board that he can hopefully pick up for the future. Stefan leading us off with a Buddy Poffin, one of the best cards here in the Pokemon TCG, because it gets those basic Pokemon out. They do have to be 70 HP or less, but that's pretty nice here for Stefan, who has an evolution deck. You start with the babies, you evolve up. Like you said, it's kind of a slower build-up deck here. What do you think he's going to be aiming for after he kind of gets a look at the prize cards that he's facing down as well?
Yeah, in this matchup, the Raging Bolt deck is typically very aggressive. You just try to attack as quickly as you can, take big knockouts, and for this slower style of deck with the Dragapult EX, it's about buying time. You want to try to buy as much time as you can to set up. Yeah, slow it down a little bit. Maybe get a Badoo out there, use the Itchy Pollen, prevent your opponent from playing item cards. You're really just trying not to give up too many prize cards before Dragapult comes into play. If you can attack with Dragapult, like 2-3 times, typically you were winning the game. So if you can, just stop your opponent from being too aggressive, disrupt them in the late game with cards like Iono. Yeah, that's going to be your key here because for the most part, if Raging Bolt just attacks over and over and draws perfectly, there's not a lot you can do to stop it. It's just going to do 300 damage every turn or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, you have to try to disrupt where you can and take these little opportunities to throw your opponent off, and maybe they miss one part of their combo.
Yes.
Like that, yeah.
Exactly. Raging Bolt is such a powerful deck. It can swing pretty much infinite damage for however many energy you're able to discard. So it's used to taking those huge knockouts, which is where, exactly like you said, Kyle, you have to kind of take the reins and control a little bit more of what your opponent is doing so they can't just run away with their strategy like that. And look at this. This is a fantastic way to start to get this going. We have 3 Dreepy down on the bench here, as well as that Zorua, the end Zorua, I should say, out on the field. The Luminous Energy is going to help Shaman pull off this technical machine evolution, which is going to let Stefan get both of these Dracloak out on the field. They're going to start drawing some cards here for Stefan in the coming up turns with that recon directive ability, and that is the engine here that Stefan's going to be working with. So this is such a solid start here.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see there's a lot of clever, innovative stuff in this deck list. It's not a typical Dragapult deck. I think Stefan is adapted to the format, and for a while we've been seeing Dragapult decks that are really slow, right? They just attach one energy at a time. They weren't playing any sort of energy acceleration. They were banking on buying time with the Badoo, the item lock. They would play like unfair stamp, things like that, just try to disrupt. This deck list is a lot more geared towards being able to attack with multiple Dragapult in a row. We see the Sparkling Crystal is the A spec. You can power up Dragapult EX in a single turn. There's some tricky stuff in here as well with the ends PP up plus energy switch. Lets you accelerate an energy and then energy switch it over to a Dragapult. So a couple different ways to surprise your opponent and pull off an attack. So this is not a typical slow Dragapult deck. It does have the option to play that way, but it can also be a little more flexible in the game plan.
Yeah, you can elaborate on that. I mean, the highest count energy is that Luminous Energy because it can play into whatever it wants to be at the time that you need it. So I love this build so far from Stefan, and we haven't even get to see it in full swing. Of course, facing off against Raging Bolts as Jack continues to set up his board here. We have the Earthen Vessel grabbing a Fighting and a Grass energy out of the deck. Of course, Jewel Seeker is online from that Knockdowl, which was already utilized in this turn, thanks to that Teal Mask Ogerpon Terra type being in play here for Jack. So you mentioned it before, Kyle. This is sort of like a combo deck. You're trying to get all of these pieces together to pull off these turns. And it was an awkward first start as we're seeing only one energy down still here for Jack. So we're going to have to see what he's able to do here. Of course, that was the Teal Dance, so we still have the energy attachment for turn as we jump into an Ultra Ball here. But what does Jack need to see on his board to set himself up the best way for these future turns?
It feels like this is the turn where you need to attack. This is an aggressive deck. You can't afford slow starts. So you have to be able to pull off an attack, take prize cards quickly. Because again, if the Dragapult deck sets up kind of on even footing with you, you're probably just going to lose. Dragapult EX can hit multiple things with the Phantom Dive, is able to 200 damage to the active and then spread 6 damage counters. So if Dragapult attacks enough times, they're just going to come out ahead. So it's really crucial to get an attack off here. We do see the Professor Sada's Vitality and still no energy attachment for the turn, as you said.
And there we go. That's the Lightning here. Of course, draw 3 from Professor Sada's Vitality. Accelerates from the discard pile onto your Ancient Pokemon. Then you're able to still have that attachment for turn as well, which is going to power up that Raging Bolt EX. But yeah, Kyle, we need to go turbo mode here with Raging Bolt. That's the way we win here. That is what Jack is trying to accomplish, and he has established this board here in this turn. We now have 2 Teal Mask Ogerpon on the bench for the future to start Teal dancing around in the future, but Here we go. We're bringing it back to the past. Raging Bolt EX, Bellowing Thunder here, discarding those energy cards, taking a knockout on that poor little Shaman in the active position. Going to be first to a prize card, but it is just that single prize card as he's going to have to keep churning through these single prize card Pokemon until they start evolving.
Yeah, really annoying single prize knockout as well. Had to discard both energy because Shaman has 80 HP. It's 70 per energy you discard for the attack, so having to discard the extra energy is also particularly annoying here. You want to try to keep energy in play when you can with the Raging Bolt deck, just so your next attack isn't as difficult to pull off. So yeah, this is one of the little things that can add up over the course of the game and make it so that maybe later on when you go to attack, you're one energy short of knocking out a Dragapult or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. We love the 140 HP. That's perfect math for us. But anything that's lower than that, all of those missed damage counters are just out the window, pretty much. Yeah. It's wasted resources there for Jack.
Feels annoying.
It's super annoying. Yeah, it's so annoying. But hey, that's how this deck functions. You know, you want to take these huge knockouts. It also comes at a cost when you're faced up against these smaller evolution type decks where you're just having to go through these single prize Pokemon, and it almost hurts. Because you see now Stefan is just like, oh, I'm having a good time. We got the Pheasantipity out. We can draw some cards here with Flip the Script. 3 additional cards to my hand on top of 2 Recon Directives for turn. And we haven't even started trading yet, Kyle. I mean, that is so gross. The consistency is off the charts here for Stefan.
Yeah, of course he won with Zoroark GX, his last NAIC title. With this same ability, trade. Discard 1 card to draw 2. And
love it.
Yeah, bringing it back, I guess.
Right, bringing it back, trying to get to that champion title once again here with the N Zoroark EX. It's different, but it still has that fantastic ability. Throwing away a boss's orders, drawing into 2 additional cards. Stefan's building up a hand that almost is going to be too mounting here for Jack to be able to handle if he's not able to sort of speed up here and win against this. I mean, what are even the odds here? This is such a great board for Stefan. He's bringing the Badoo out as well, as we've seen in many matchups here. You know, mid-game Badoo is another way to just slow things down for a lot of our players here and there. So there's just feels like there's so much more control from Stefan's side versus the Raging Bolt that it's kind of just tossing cards, it's taking knockouts, but it's a little bit more volatile as well.
Yeah, that being said, a really awkward turn. I think Stefan was maybe 1 card short of being able to attack with the Dragapult EX this turn and has to settle for going a little bit slower. You see the Professor Turo picks up the Dracloak to get it out of the active spot. Also lets him evolve the other Dreepy into Dracloak to use another Recon Directive, but yeah, we're not going to see a big attack here. It's just going to be the Itchy Pollen from the Badoo, just try to slow things down a bit. These Raging Bolt decks can be a little bit awkward sometimes if you have to depend on like playing an Ultra Ball to get a Noctowl. Sometimes a Badoo randomly taking away that option can make you miss an attack for an entire turn. So we'll see if Jack has the tools to attack this turn. Looks like probably.
I was about to say, I feel like every time I play against Raging Bolt, it's just like, okay, Professor Saw's Vitality, 3 additional cards, give me everything I need. And that's why this card is so good here in these Raging Bolt EX decks. It not only gets your attacker powered up immediately, but it's getting all of these cards in the hand. Nets another Sawdust Vitality into the hand for the upcoming turns as well. The consistency so far, it's in the hand here for Jack as we get both those energy lined back up here on that Raging Bolt. Badoo, a small little guy there in the active, only needs 1 discarded into the discard pile to take another knockout here. And now we're back online with the prize map. Only 4 prize cards left to take for Jack. And what do you think those 4 prize cards are going to be for him? We do have, you know, that Pheasantipity is out on the field. It draws cards for Stefan, but it's one of the lower HP 2 prize card Pokemon out there as well.
Yeah, when your opponent gets down to 4 prize cards, this is when you need to make a stand with the Dragapult deck. But yeah, it's scary, right? It's just 2 EX knockouts and you lose. The nice thing was, even though Jack got an attack off, there were some item cards stranded in his hand. He was not able to play Earthen Vessel or Energy Retrieval. So you see there were no teal dances used on those Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. There's only one energy card in play right now. So it may be difficult for Jack to string together multiple attacks with the Raging Bolt as we go on. This is, even though Jack has the 2 prize card advantage right now, it is still anyone's game.
Yeah, the resource race is real, that is for sure. And that's one thing where Raging Bolt lacks. It can run out of resources really quick, especially in the face of disruption like that Badoo. It can lead to those awkward turns, and then you're not fully set up and able to take the end game win. So we'll have to see if Stefan is able to kind of put things into a little bit more of a hyperspeed mode here and start taking some prize cards. Maybe take the lead as far as just the stability of his board and deck versus Jack's.
Yeah, I do want to call out Stefan, as always, the nails match the sleeves.
Love it, yeah. Oh, that's
the trademark.
Really? I guess I didn't notice that before.
Yeah.
Picks the sleeve color to match the nails. So which one do you think comes first?
That's a great question. That's a great interview question.
The nails or the sleeves? Oh, yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, matching that, all of these coins that it's indicating these abilities being used. Look at this. 2 recon directives, the trade ability on the end Zoroark, and that flip the script. It is endless card draw here for Stefan. And when we're talking about the resource race, I kind of want to be sitting on the left side of the field. Look at that. The A-Spec in hand, multiple evolution Pokemon. He's got a lot.
Yeah, but all right, here comes Dragapult EX finally, and we have the Sparkling Crystal in hand, that powerful A-Spec card that reduces the attack cost of a Terra Pokemon that it's attached to. I think Stefan was hoping to pair this with some hand disruption this turn, and Iono would have been great to disrupt Jack and perhaps prevent an attack, but just the Arven is going to be the supporter card for the turn. So even though Stefan has flipped the script, used recon directives, used trade, still hasn't been able to find exactly what he's been looking for here. And now it's a question of how does he want to approach this for the rest of the game. You see the counter catcher taken here. One weak spot for this Raging Bolt deck is, you do need to constantly have cards in your hand to play every turn to refill the energy on your board. So if you don't have a Hoot Hoot in play sitting around to evolve into the Noctowl, you're very vulnerable to hand disruption later on in the game. So we'll see if Stefan decides to maybe cut off the Hoot Hoot, go after that, or just attack into Pokemon EX here. But there we do see the NSPP up getting the fire energy.
I love it.
We got the energy switch too, the full combo here.
Yeah,
don't even need the Sparkling Crystal.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many cards that were netted to the hand. You can kind of work with the resources you have. The NSPP up to get that energy out. Energy switch it on to the Dragapult EX here. So saving that A-Spec for the future turns is huge there as well for Stefan. So we see this Dragapult EX, it's charged up. We've been talking about Phantom Dive for so long here. One of the strongest moves in the Pokemon TCG. 200 damage to the active Pokemon, but then you also get 60 damage to play with on your opponent's bench however you like. So where do you think the damage is going here? We see some going on to that. The full amount actually going on to the Fan Rotom here, taking it all the way down to only 10 HP left.
Yeah, so this is setting up a bigger play in a future turn. Stefan does play the Hawlucha as well, which could do the final 10 damage to that Fan Rotom later.
Love it.
So you can pull off a play where, you do something like Counter Catcher up a Hoot Hoot. You use the Hawlucha, take out a Fan Rotom, you Phantom Dive, knock out the Hoot Hoot and a Raging Bolt, and you get like a 4-prize turn. So that's how you come back with this deck. Just because you're down a couple prize cards does not mean you are losing with this deck at all. It is built on having multiple prize turns later in the game. This attack it does so much, right? It hits enough on the active Pokemon to be relevant, and it does enough damage counters to the benched Pokemon to also set up knockouts. So it's scary to play against. We have the Lily's Clefairy EX in the format now, which kind of keeps it in check, but this is still a ridiculously strong attack. If this thing gets to attack, 2 or 3 times, oftentimes you're just going to lose to Dragapult.
Yeah, I mean, you can count on losing to that many Phantom Dives, that's for sure. Anytime in the Pokemon TCG, when you have spread damage like that, it's always dangerous for your board because so many Pokemon rely on that setup. And we haven't even mentioned, like counter catchers. You get those early prize losses in the beginning there if you're playing as the Dragapult player, but then you can kind of bring it back and really manipulate the boards in the end state of the game. So you're kind of just you're forcing your opponent to play into your best strategies. And that's a place that I would love to be playing a Dragapult deck, that's for sure. As we see, speaking of strategies, Professor Sada's Vitality is definitely a part of that here. We already saw it netted to the hand previously for Jack. Now we're seeing it utilized to line up some energy onto this Raging Bolt EX that's surviving by just 30 HP in the active. But hey, that's enough to keep swinging here with that long neck.
And I think perhaps also not ideal. Now the bench is full, even at 8 with the Area 0 underdepths. There's one Hoot in play, but a lot of Teal Mask Ogerpon had to put down the Slitherwing just to get another target for the Professor Sada's Vitality. Probably would have wanted that to be another Raging Bolt EX ideally, but was not able to do that. And yeah, I mean, in this position, you don't feel great as the Raging Bolt player. You want to get the knockout. That's all you can really do.
Right.
But this damage is piling up. You just kind of get that sinking feeling in your stomach, like
inevitability.
I'm technically ahead in prizes, but something bad is about to happen.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you look at this board and you're like, oh, this isn't too bad. There's so much out there, and we still have the Hoot. We could get another Noctowl here, line some things up. But it's exactly as you said, playing against damage spread is so dangerous here when you have all these Pokemon that are able to just take whatever damage your opponent wants to put on them, playing directly into their strategy in their hand as well. So Jack's going to continue working through the deck, thinning some cards out here. As you said, Area 0 Underdepths is what is expanding this bench so much. 8 Pokemon down there for Jack. I mean, I love this card because it just leads to some crazy boards. All right, we're seeing the Bellowing Thunder here now, discarding 4, 5. That's going to be enough here for Jack as he was able to get all of those energy out onto the field thanks to those teal dances on all of those Ogerpon that are out there for Jack. That's going to take a clean knockout, even though it is a giant EX Pokemon in that Dragapult EX. But enough for Raging Bolt to take it down. That is not what Raging Bolt struggles with at all. It can take those huge knockouts, leaving Jack just 2 prize cards left to take here to take this game. But Stefan, as we said, has this huge hand. We see the Hawlucha already in the hand that we spoke about earlier. Yeah, it's pretty locked up on that Fan Rotom.
This is probably going to be a brutal turn. If you're
I'm excited, honestly.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a counter catcher, Iono, and a Phantom Dive. We may be seeing the Pheasantipity and the Hoot both go down, and Jack go down to a 2-card hand, which is not a spot you want to be in. There's nothing on board to help you recover from this. There's Dragapult that's going to end up taking a bunch of prize cards. This is going to be absolutely devastating. The flying entry from the Hawlucha is what's going to unlock all of this, putting 1 damage counter on 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So 1 on the Hoot, 1 on the Pheasantipity EX. You can now counter catcher out the Pheasantipity, which has 200 HP remaining after the flying entry. And now the Hoot has 60 HP remaining after the flying entry. Yeah, it all works out.
It's almost like this was fully planned, Kyle, huh?
Yep. So hand disruption, knock out 2 things that both would help Jack recover from the hand disruption. And I mean, you get 3 prize cards. You're threatening a win on the next turn with another Phantom Dive. And this is how you draw it up as a Dragapult player. The only thing Stefan's missing is an energy card. I think there's a Night Stretcher in hand to get that as well. So this is looking pretty good.
Yeah, look, and just opting to go straight to the Iono first here for Stefan. That's going to add to this disruption here for Jack, and he just knows that this is going to be absolutely brutal as the damage has been totally set up here for this turn. And Stefan has played totally calculated here. We have the Luminous Energy in the hands now. The rescue board is already there for this Fezandipity EX to be able to retreat. We're still drawing cards as well on Stefan's side too. So we're going to see a trade throwing a Buddy Poffin into 2 additional cards into this hand. It has totally flipped here as Jack just has 2 mere cards in the hand and Stefan has endless cards once again. I mean, it's just brutal. We're going to see multiple Pokemon. All of the resources Jack could potentially recover with are going to be knocked out. And Stefan's, it's his game to win at this point now.
Yeah, now the Zoroark EX does present an interesting way to lose now from this position. It does have a weakness to grass. And we do have an Iron Leaves EX in Jack's deck. He discarded it early on. Okay. But, you know, this is a way you can power up an attacker. You Teal Dance with your Ogerpon. You can have the Iron Leaves EX kind of swoop in with its ability. And if you find that Prime Catcher, you can go after the Zoroark EX and win the game. Now, it's not very likely. You only have 2 cards off of this Iono. But, you know, if you draw something like an Energy Retrieval, start using some Teal Dances. He's got the Night Stretcher, which can get back either the Iron Leaves or may have to start off with the Fezandipity EX to draw some cards. So it's not out of the question that you could get a knockout here. And then, you know, there's always a chance you just get enough energy in play, you get another Raging Bolt out.
Right.
Again, it's only 2 cards, but it spirals pretty quickly. Yeah, this is, you know, if you're Stefan, you're feeling pretty confident that all you have to do is attack one more time and win, basically. But you also know that it's not over yet.
There's ways to win for Jack here. The Crispin is going to be the supporter coming down, though, from Jack. Getting those 2 energy out of the deck. Of course, different color energy here.
And that Slitherwing is another option, right? If you find the Prime Catcher, you can go after the Fezandipity EX. So there are ways to pull this off, but it does seem like it's all going to revolve around finding that ace-spec card, the Prime Catcher.
And a little bit of weakness, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's nice to see here. Jack has ways to do this as the Crispin's going to start off the turn. I mean, you think about it. Stefan put everything out there, limiting his hand as much as possible for Jack, taking out the Hoot Hoot. Fezandipity is gone there, but Jack's going to try to put these pieces together and potentially win this turn. If he doesn't, then that's going to be it for Jack. So he needs to pull out all the stops here to put up a fight in this game 1 between these iconic players and this iconic matchup as well.
Yeah, the other thing you can do to kind of stay in the game is there is a jamming tower in the deck as well. You can get rid of your own Area 0 Underdepths and discard your heavily damaged Pokemon. But it looks like Jack is just going to go for the Crispin onto the Raging Bolt EX and just say, hey, I'm going to try to get 5 energy in play and knock you out. Let's go for it.
Tried and true. Well, we have ways to get those energy out. Night Stretcher was in the hand here. That's going to lead to this Fezandipity. The flip the script into 3 additional cards here. Items, of course, they're online. They're ready for Jack. He's just got to get what he needs. What do you see? I saw Boss's Orders, another Night Stretcher.
Yeah, supporter cards don't help you here. You already played one.
Right.
But, yeah, we could just see a string of Teal Dances here.
Oh, yeah. He's thinking hard here. Yeah, retreating.
3 energy in play right now. This will be the 4th. We need a draw here. It's the jamming
tower.
This does allow you to discard your Fan Rotom. Your opponent is at 3 prize cards, so it would force them to have like a counter catcher.
Sure.
But yeah, you really were hoping to win the game.
You just want to win, right?
Yeah.
You want that energy needed on the board to take a big knockout here and just win. But we're going to have to just put that jamming tower out. That's going to get rid of that Area 0 under depths, get those damage counters off the field here for Jack. So hopefully he can just withstand longer here in this matchup. But that is not a position I want to be in, going against a Dragapult EX and this board that we're looking at on Stefan's side.
Yeah, interestingly enough, the jamming tower does shut off the sparkling crystal as well, so that would require Stefan to have one more thing. But yeah, this kind of goes back to the Shaman earlier in the game, having to discard 2 energy instead of keeping 1 in play could have been the difference here. Now 1 energy short of getting the knockout, and this is what you're hoping for in this matchup. You just need the Raging Bolt player to miss one aspect of their game plan. Now the question is, can Stefan close this out? A counter catcher plus an energy that lets you go after the Slither Wing and take a 3 prize card turn here.
Right.
That's got to be what you're aiming for at this point.
Yep.
Gotta try to win.
Yeah, you need to take 3 prize cards here. Win the game. Knock out something that has limited HP with your Phantom Dive. Of course, that Raging Bolt EX heavily damaged here. Only 30 left of its HP remaining here for Stefan. And he's got a lot of cards to work with here. As we see also that ends Reshiram coming out onto the field too.
Yeah, I think this should be guaranteed. I think there's only 4 cards left in the deck. So you can trade 2, Recon Directive to look at the other 2. There's 5. Okay, so not guaranteed, but he just drew it all, so fine.
Yeah, here we have the Night Stretcher bringing this energy back up. The boss's orders, that's going to lead to that 3 prize turn. Slitherwing out for the count. That Raging Bolt EX taking a knockout. That's 3 prize cards for Stefan in this game 1. Taking the lead here going into our game 2. As like we said, he's trying to trade for victory here at NAIC. Of course, in our finals last year, trying to get back to that spot, but come out on top this time. And honestly, I'm going to say that matchup, there were some sticky situations. But Stefan was calm, cool, collected. I love the way he plays. It's very calculated. And it looked a little volatile there for Raging Bolts.
Yeah, we can take a look at how that first game played out. Was very back and forth. And this is how the matchup's going to go a lot of the time. Raging Bolt gets out to an early lead, gets some prize cards as the Dragapult deck needs a little bit of time to set up those stage 2 Pokemon. We saw the Pidoo get in there for 1 turn. That may have been a difference as well, right? It stopped an Earthen Vessel from being played, stopped more Teal Dances from generating more energy into play. Little things like that add up over the course of the game. You see here, Jack goes up 4 prize cards. It's 2-6.
Yes.
But then the comeback begins. The Phantom Dive takes out the Pheasantipity and the Hoot Hoot. All the support Pokemon go down in 1 attack. Jack's left with very few energy left, and Stefan is able to close out the big comeback and take the first game.
Yeah, one thing Stefan does so well is managing resources, knowing every single card that remains in the deck is in the discard pile and in the prize cards, and just fully utilizing his strategy against his opponents. That's something he does well. He's a professional player here. We're getting into our game 2 between these players. It's the Ends Reshiram in the active position to start here for Stefan. As we said, this is like a new addition to Dragapult. This is not what we commonly see here. And it's now in the active, kind of stuck up there, as Jack has the Fan Rotom start almost the opposite here. The Fan Call is going to start getting these Pokemon out onto the field for Jack, as he's able to maybe take a lead going into this game, as Stefan can potentially start missing some of these early game turns.
Yeah, I think Jack chose to go second.
Yeah.
Stefan did very little on the first turn, just put down a Dreepy. And yeah, the Ends Reshiram might be the worst Pokemon to start with in the deck as a 2 retreat cost. Maybe in this matchup it's not as bad because it's just like a big basic that your opponent has to discard 2 energy to get through. But yeah, obviously not ideal. And really not ideal was just playing 1 Dreepy and not doing anything else. Now Jack's going to be able to use the Fan Call, get a bunch of Pokemon, try to pull off an attack this turn, really put the pressure on. This is a situation where, you don't always want to waste your Prime Catcher early in the game, but if you could just go after the 1 Dreepy, get a knockout right there on the first turn, and that would put you pretty far ahead in this game so far.
Yeah, exactly. We saw last game how heavy Technical Machine Evolution was in Stefan's strategy, getting those evolved Pokemon out in the Drakloaks, as we had a bunch of other Pokemon. We had 3 Dreepies on the first turn for Stefan, and that is just looking so different to this board. And that gives Jack the advantage to be able to sort of take the lead, take out a Dreepy, and have Stefan faced with more answers to have to come up with, and really less cards because it's only going second here. He's going to have to pull out a lot as Jack is able to fully set up his board here. We have a Raging Bolt EX out. We've already teal danced on that Ogerpon as well. And the Earthen Vessel has gotten us the energy out.
This is a big 3 cards. I don't know if Jack's going to be able to attack unless he draws something really good here.
Oh my gosh. Was that 2 stadiums?
Yep.
And as a supporter, I think, yeah, that was kind of awkward there for Jack. The fan rotom still in the active position. Surprisingly doesn't have free retreat, even though it's a fan. Can't just jump out of there, so it's stuck in the active here for Jack as he just got a couple of energy out, and it's back over to Stefan. This could be the opportunity for Stefan to restabilize here. The Dreep is still on board, and we can hopefully get some more Pokemon out now that Arvin is able to search out any item card and a tool card for you as well.
Fan Rotom, I assume has a retreat cost because it's weighed down by having to carry the team on its back, getting all the Pokemon into play on the first turn. Yeah.
Wow. And look at this, too. Stefan's playing an Arvin right now. There's 2 Arvin in the prize cards and the 2 Buddy Buddy Poffin, but those are such high counts in the deck here for Stefan that all you need really is 1 Arvin to get a Buddy Buddy Poffin, and we can still have some Pokemon out on the field if he so chooses. We see the rescue board as well as one of those tool cards that we see. Of course, the A-Spec and the Sparkling Crystal is a tool here for Stefan as well. So definitely taking a look here through the deck, mapping out these prize cards as we get these resources tracked down for Stefan. And that rescue board and Poffin are out. We're going to see some more Pokemon join the field.
Yeah, I was wondering what line of play Stefan would go for. You could, in this situation, go for like the TM evolution. You can actually just attach to the Ends Reshiram and go for that. Looks like Rescue Board was the choice. You could also, attach Rescue Board, attach, and then retreat into a Badoo or something like that.
True.
There's a couple different options. Depends on, the strength of your hand in this situation. As we do see Earthen Vessel searching out 2 basic energy cards. So yeah, it'll be a question of, do you want to try to slow things down with the Itchy Pollen? Seemed like your opponent didn't have that explosive of a start, but you know that Noctowl is coming on the next turn.
Right.
Or do you just try to evolve up your Dreepy into some Dracloak and, get Dragapult out a little faster?
I like getting Dragapult out, honestly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you said, Kyle, when you're swinging with Dragapult, you're having a good day. But, TM Evolution was already in the hand, so we're just netting that rescue board. But for now, the tool to be attached onto that Ends Reshiram is that Evo. We see the energy to go with it to be able to do that evolution move. The TM Evolution then discards after this turn, but it nets us 2 Dracloak, and that is what we want here for Stefan. Had to go first, had an awkward start there, but is safe now here, at least for the time being, and has as stable of a board as possible. Is just going to try to mount onto that for these future turns. Jack, so sad that he whiffed. I mean, Raging Bolt can be so deadly going second, but now we're on the second turn here for Jack as he continues to have to get out of this Fan Rotom, get some attacks in as Stefan has been able to set up a little bit more on the other side. Jewel Seeker, of course, being able to be used here off this Noctowl. It's not items, it's not tools, it's not stadiums, it's just trainer cards here for Jack, which is quite nice.
Yeah, very strong ability. Only works when you have a Terra Pokemon in play, but yeah, Teal Mask Ogerpon does the job there. Yeah, we'll see what Jack wants to go for here. He did draw the Prime Catcher for the turn. It does feel like you could go after a Dracloak here, potentially. Crispin was the choice for the supporter card grabbed as well. This deck played a lot differently after the standard format rotation. Before, you would see it was pretty easy to get energy cards into the discard pile early on. You'd see like Radiant Greninja used a lot for that. Sometimes you can struggle a little bit to get enough energy into the discard pile early on, so you do see this Crispin get used to accelerate towards your first attack, and then once the energy are in the discard pile, it's pretty easy to use the Sada to get them back over and over. But yeah, big question is, this the turn to use the Prime Catcher, maybe go after a Dracloak, or do you just kind of retreat, take your 1 prize knockout? Looks like, yeah, that's going to be the choice here. Just knock out the Ends Reshiram and save that Prime Catcher for later.
Well, we're only going to need a 2 energy to be able to do it. Of course, that ends Reshiram 130. We have 70 per energy. That's perfect damage here, minus just 10 to take out that ends Reshiram. That's the first prize card down here for Jack as the Dreepy gets brought into the active position here for Stefan. Let's start drawing into some cards. What do we get here for Stefan? He gets one to the hand. The other goes to the bottom of the deck. So you have some choices. Nothing's being discarded here, as we've seen in other Pokemon formats. Recon Directive, it's just netting you cards and continues to grind through your deck. It's quite nice.
Yeah, another thing to note, I think before Destined Rivals came out, this would have been a spot where on the first turn as the Raging Bolt player, you would have gone for the non-EX Raging Bolt so that turn 2 you could set up an attack to knock out a Dragapult on the bench. But in the first game, Stefan started with the Shaman. And so now Jack knows if I go for that Raging Bolt, my opponent has access to Shaman to block that attack and just abandons that plan completely. So even though the Shaman isn't in play, it's still affecting how the strategy how the game plan is being approached from Jack here. So it's interesting to see how just kind of like the existence of these cards changes how you play the matchups.
Oh, that is a super cool aspect of the Pokemon TCG, or even the fact that sometimes if that Raging Bolt is out, it works in the opposite way where you're almost like forced to then play the Shaman because you don't want to be targeted down like that. So it does work both ways for these players, but all that information is out there. Jack has taken note of that and has chosen his strategy here, attacking with this Raging Bolt EX.
Jacques against
Jacques.
Jack.
Yeah, right? Jacques against Jack. We're going to see these evolution Pokemon come out of the deck here for Stefan as well in this Dragapult EX, and that ends Zoroark EX as well. Almost a perfect card here for Stefan to be playing with all these evolutions that we see in this deck. Rescue board, of course, that was netted off this Arven in the initial turn for Stefan. So that was already in hand, ready to go. See the Luminous Energy, one of 3 in the deck, being applied to that bench Dracloak as Badoo is going to start itchy pollinating. Hopefully Jack took some allergy meds this morning because no item cards for this turn for him. He is locked down by that itchy pollen. No energy needed here from that little Badoo. It just does 10 damage, locks items. Jack can still play stadiums down, which he's going to do in this Area Zero under depths to be able to expand the bench. And this is a card that isn't able to be utilized in a lot of decks anymore, but can fit into this Raging Bolt EX. Some disruption here in the early game as each player is going to shuffle their hands into their decks, and then they're only going to draw 4 cards, trying to slow Stefan down as much as possible.
Yeah, in most decks you see the Iono is the hand disruption card, but in an aggressive deck, you're going to be taking prize cards early, and you want to disrupt your opponent early on in the game.
Yeah.
So the judge putting your opponent down to 4 cards at the beginning as you're taking knockouts can be extremely disruptive. And we'll see if Stefan's able to respond after this. And we saw the fan Rotom getting in for the knockout on the Badoo as well.
Hey, I love it. Yeah, stadium's in play. We have the Assault landing. It's a 1-for-1 trade as far as those prize cards go. So that is a part of the strategy we didn't get to really see last time from Jack. But maybe that's what needs to happen to turn the tides here in Jack's favor in this game too.
Yeah, and a lot of this is being enabled by the Latias EX, giving your basic Pokemon, taking away their retreat costs. So we've seen both turns now, the fan Rotom got to retreat into the Raging Bolt, and now the Raging Bolt's got to retreat back without having to discard any energy, and it's letting you keep crucial energy cards in play while taking knockouts. So that Latias EX is a crucial part of a lot of these decks that revolve heavily on basic Pokemon these days.
Yeah, Skyliner ability there on that Latias. Fantastic. You're jumping around. You're keeping your energy on the board. You're taking these knockouts here and there for Jack. That's awesome. As we see Stefan definitely thinking through these turns here. We still don't have a Dragapult EX online here for Stefan as he deals with these recon directives. We see the Iono. There must have been kind of an awkward hand off of that judge for Stefan, but he's able to use that Iono, get some fresh cards to the hand, and now we're going to start with that trade ability on that end Zoroark here. The Monkey Dory, we haven't even talked about that because it hasn't been applied to this matchup, but in the discard pile now as we go into these recon directives.
Not good against Raging Bolt. They tend to just knock you out, not leave damage on board.
Yes, exactly. But love that he has those in the deck here as we're going through these recon directives. Let's see what he's got in hand for Stefan.
Yeah, finally found a Dragapult EX. It is an awkward attack if you want to take it here. You just get the one prize card on the fan, Rotom. You know your Dragapult would get knocked out in return because there's a Raging Bolt already with a bunch of energy. Pretty trivial to get more energy to get the knockout. So we'll see what the plan is here. Maybe still is missing a piece here. Haven't seen the Sparkling Crystal yet, so might need to flip the script and draw into some good stuff here.
Yeah, the energy is somewhat slimmer. The Ultra Ball throwing away a Professor's Turo. That's another resource down, as well as that Shaman. Flip the script is going to nest 3 additional cards. The Boss's Orders here. I think another Iono.
And if you're not attacking with Dragapult here, this might be a situation where you want to use the Badoo once again. If you can Night Stretcher for it. It's a really awkward spot.
Yeah, Stefan.
Just attacking into the fan, Rotom, is not a great play at this point, I don't think. So we do see the Night Stretcher. And yeah, Stefan deciding I can afford to give up one more single prize. I can use the Itchy Pollen, and that'll prevent my opponent from using stuff like Ultra Ball to find a Noctowl. It'll prevent Prime Catcher from being used. So yeah, this could be a crucial moment in the game if Jack is not able to find a way to bring up a 2-prize Pokemon in this situation.
Exactly. I mean, the hand is looking like a lot of items there for Jack, and it had the Noctowl in the hand as well. So.
Oh, well, Noctowl's good.
Yeah, I mean, Noctowl will get us some cards here for sure.
Yeah. Can find you a Boss's Orders if that's the play you want to go for.
And that's the thing, too, Jack. I mean, yes, the Badoo is locking down the item cards here for Jack. He is going to take the Knockout now on it. That's an additional prize card for him. But he's able to also, once again, get more energy onto the board. We saw the attachment onto that Noctowl there and the lightning energy. That's just more damage that's mounting up for Jack on the other side. So it's definitely not a difficult position for him to have to play out of, I suppose. He's got 3 prize cards left to take. It's kind of just on Stefan whether he's able to get the cards he needs now to reapply enough pressure to take this game too, as still sitting at 6 prize cards.
All right, we do see Dragapult. There was another Luminous Energy in hand. You have to remember there are extra words on that card that say if there's another special energy attached, it just provides colorless energy. So do not try to attach 2 Luminous Energy to the same Pokemon. Does not go well.
Yeah, that's normally one we don't have to worry about because we only see it usually as like a 1 inclusion here and there. But yeah, that's a really good point there, Kyle. We're seeing them go on to different Pokemon here to avoid that little misstep.
And now what is the game plan going to be? You can see Stefan trying to figure out how am I piecing together 6 prize cards before my opponent can do it. Down 3 prize cards here. It's not an insurmountable lead, but it is difficult. There's no room for error anymore. You're going to need to hope your opponent misses something at some point. And just trying to figure out the best route to eliminate options from your opponent while progressing your own path to victory here. Probably involves going through the Pheasantipity EX, playing some hand disruption here. What will be the target on the counter catcher? Or do you just have to go right for the Raging Bolt? Looks like that is going to be the answer.
Yeah, Raging Bolt EX already has 10 damage from that little Badoo ping earlier on there for Stefan. He was able to Night Stretcher out that Psychic Energy there to fully load up that Dragapult EX. We're going to see some disruption here in this Iono as well. Thrown into the mix for Stefan. Still nets 6 cards representing the prize cards. Jack only down to 3 here. So, yeah, is going to be able to hit into this Raging Bolt EX. Lots of energy and the NSPP up in that new hand for Stefan, starting off into our recon directive as well. That's a lot of energy. Oh, we see both these Recon Directive does net the Sparkling Crystal into the hand. That beautiful ace spec here for Stefan.
Yeah, this is going to be a tricky one. I'm curious to see where he'll place the damage counters with the Phantom Dive here. There's a lot of things that are potentially useful, but nothing that straightforward that's going to guarantee helping you win this game. You could put like 6 on the Hoot Hoot, and then you can, take it out later. But then if your opponent just evolves into Noctowl, that feels
awkward.
Like a huge waste.
Right.
It's good to drop like 1 damage counter on some of these EX that you can, finish off later with the Phantom Dive. But then it feels like you're kind of wasting some of the damage counters. So, yeah, we see 1 on the Pheasantipity, 5 on the Hoot Hoot. Usually you can find, pretty optimal ways to spread out these damage counters, but that one felt a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I mean, that's where Dragapult does get tricky. It's a spread damage deck, but you have to think several turns in advance when you're spreading this damage on how your future turns are going to be affected and what you're able to take knockouts on. And it's been kind of an awkward start from the beginning for Stefan, leading to these awkward damage counters as well. And if Jack is able to play around that, it could be huge here, as Jack has kind of kept up a consistent plan, taking these prize cards out. We see another Raging Bolt EX hit the board as well. That's another attacker that currently is fully healthy, unlike the one that is up in the active now, is heavily damaged, ready to be taken out by some additional damage counters. But he's able to still keep swinging with him. Night Stretcher's going to add that energy onto the field with that Teal Dance, Teal Mask Ogerpon, as we're getting all this energy out. But does Jack have all the pieces to keep going in this matchup to actually take a win in this game too? What do you think, Kyle? We're seeing the knockout here. That's enough to take out this fully healthy Dragapult EX. Another 2 prize cards. That's only 1 here left for Jack. Can Stefan step in his way there?
I mean, this is going to be tough for Jack. I mean, we're going to see an Iono to 1. Now, Stefan will need to find the other counter catcher. If you counter catcher up the Pheasantipity, basically the same thing that happened in the first game, right? You take out all the support Pokemon, disrupt your opponent's hand, and just kind of cross your fingers that the Raging Bolt deck can't get those final energy into play and get across the finish line. I do think the counter catcher went to the bottom of the deck after the last Iono, so it might be tough for Stefan to find it, which could make things a little bit awkward. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting finish. It looks like time was called.
Oh my gosh.
Just flew by.
I know, right? I mean, it has definitely been a slug fest here between these players. I mean, Dragapult tends to go a little bit slower as it takes a lot of actions. It's a slower deck just in general. And Stefan is going to have to navigate this turn, I believe, being turn 0.
Yeah, so now, I mean, obviously it's nice to be able to win the game, but now the goalposts kind of shift, right? It's less about actively winning the game and more about, another avenue opens up for you, which is just not losing. The way the rules work, if you are ahead 1-0,